So
I've been worse.
this is here's modular arrowhead class.
Pay attention to her husband and try to
There's
ruin
a
her life.
crap ton of supplies needed to start in all this. You have to have shield foam. It's 2.2 pound polyethylene non-cross-linked, I think. I ordered online. Only get it in huge sheets. 54 by 24, I think, is minimum. Yeah, it's tower shield plus arrow supplies. Gotta have gamma balls. There are other different balls that you can use, spell balls, stress balls, but I haven't been able to find any that have the right exterior texture. It's slightly rubberized on the outside, so it's tougher.
Dollar store.
No.
Smiley face I think Smiley face ones, yes.
I understand what you're saying, but they're not the same foam type.
No, they're not, but they're pretty darn close. My spell balls
This
are
is
close.
why I use these.
Yeah, my spell balls are close.
Yeah.
I don't think they're quite.
They have an appropriate amount of squish in them so that if you get hit with them, they don't hurt.
That's
They
what
have a
it is.
rubberized external coating that prevents it from taking damage when fired and hitting the ground over and over and over, which is just destructive to arrows.
How much do these usually run you?
A bag of 60 of them runs about $55, $60.
That is not that expensive.
No, they're expensive initially.
Yes.
The first purchase is a pain in the butt.
You buy 60 though, you got enough. You cut them in half.
Set.
You're talking about enough for 24 arrows, plus I can build you a full spell ball set out of it.
You're right.
So it's well worth it go for the
So
offer.
these have a seam that go directly down the center. It's not difficult to see, fortunately. Using an X-Acto knife or a bandsaw or a hot wire foam cutter, you cut it down that seam. It gives you your guidelines so you get an exact half. Like nya.
Meow.
Yeah.
Nya, not meow. These are bigger than 2.5. I believe they were 2.75. This led me to an initial problem because I used this for my measurement when I was making my cones, and now they are the exact same size, which they are not supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'll get more into that later. So these are your arrowhead. These are the tips of the arrows. Second, next new foam. This is a rubberized foam floor mat. I bought it from Amazon Basic, or from Amazon. It's called Amazon Basics floor mat. One side of it has a textured, heat stamped. Pattern. And this leads it to have a tough rubberized out exterior. So this can take a lot of punishment. The other side of it is just fairly stock standard cut for normal foam. We're estimating this at about a 4-pound foam.
Yeah, that's what I would guess because most format starts around that 4 to 6.
Yeah.
I like that.
You need a variety of
I
tapes.
don't like it for swords.
No.
Hard.
Double-sided
For
carpet
sword,
tape.
But for arrows, that's really nice.
You need double-sided carpet tape.
Just a standard charger.
Standard duct tape.
Double-sided carpet tape. Can I get that at Lowe's?
There's lots
should
of
be
places
able
to get
to.
it. I bought it on Amazon.
Standard hardware store though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any place that does carpeting is going to
So
have
Lowe's,
this.
Lowe's will have it then.
Yeah. 1-inch strapping tape. I'm going to say this is just packing tape, but there are 2 different types of packing tape. There's a right type and a wrong type. I can't tell you how to tell when you're going to go buy it if it's the right one. Like, I don't know what the millimeter thickness is on this. I probably should have looked it up, but it didn't. The right one feels like it's almost made out of saran wrap. It moves very easily. The other one feels like it's made out of cardstock paper.
Crinkle test.
It's the wrong one.
Crinkle test. And I bet you that 3M is close to the wrong one.
Probably.
I don't know.
Well,
I could probably tell, but I'm not going to look right now.
Nylon strapping in it.
They're up there with
yeah.
Don't do that. So, those are all the tapes that you need.
There's also the type is the heat bond one.
You need
Yeah, heat bond.
zinc washers and very specific screws.
Now, are you saying zinc specifically because zinc, or just
'cause
stainless steel? Stainless steel
There's-
washers would work as well.
Yeah,
or-
well, they are stainless steel, but they're zinc coated.
okay.
so,
I
yeah.
only ask because that's the kind of questions that are going to come up.
It's not really a sticking point. It is just a thing. The specific screws I'm using are those. They have a thread size. The thread size, I believe, is number 832.
8 millimeters is what that is.
Right,
And
but
1
the
and 1/4
32 is the
inch.
important part. 'Cause it's 32 threads per inch. It's not a standard thread size.
Okay. I'll see what actually works on this.
It works in all standard arrowheads.
I love those colors.
It'll have about a
Yep.
yeah.
It's just
it
one
is-
of those ones I want to make sure. For later
The
on.
reason you know this is a standardized thing is because you can go anywhere and buy a pack of arrowheads that'll fit on a set of standard arrows.
Yeah.
Well, I took one of those arrowheads to Lowe's and I'm like, give me the wall of check my thread.
There you go.
Yeah, that worked. That's what it is. So these were super cheap.
They're 38.
Number 8 screws, 32 threads per inch. Okay.
They'll be indicated by pound 8-32.
Gotcha.
I bought my washers in these little packages of 3 from the Home Depot down the road.
So 1 inch washers that are 8 inch thick. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
A beautiful set.
Most people are not going to do this, but I highly suggest it.
That's a
It's
lot,
JB
right?
Weld.
Dress that was started.
You need this
Why it's not all together.
to turn this from 2 separate pieces into a single doesn't break apart structure, because this is going to take a lot of fucking beating.
Okay, this is just your standard cold weld.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, reason for this is when this is on your arrowhead, all this force is going to hit over and over at the tip. All of it is going to be in the screw head. Anything that's attached to this is going to get pushed backwards. If this gets separated, this screw is going to be in free spin. If the screw is in free spin, you can't take it off the arrowhead.
Without punching a hole all the way through to put a damn screwdriver on it.
Yeah, destroying the arrowhead,
Correct.
making it no longer a modular arrowhead.
No, absolutely.
So these absolutely have to be solid together. JB Weld was amazingly easy to use. First time using it was today.
Is there any reason I couldn't tack weld it as well?
Tack welding would have been much, much safer. I don't have access to that. I tried to take it to my college to have one of my professors in welding do that. He goes, no, I know what you do, and it's a safety concern for the school. No. I'm like, okay. Damn it.
I'm just asking because.
In fact, if you have access to a welder, you do not want to put your welds on this side.
No, I put it on the back side.
Yeah, because for like the first quarter of an inch here, there is no thread activity inside the head of an arrow.
Okay. So,
It is
there's-
a blank shank
so
until back here.
Yeah, so there'd be no reason to have the rough part of the weld on the other side where it could
Right.
interrupt it. Okay.
So you can hide it right inside here, and it'll just sit at the end of the arrow shaft and cause no damage to anything.
Okay.
All right. Kite Spar. www.goodwins.com. I believe this is .414 filament wound epoxy tube.
You're gonna have to go straight on and go over your shoulder.
It is basically just a really thin kite spar. The internal diameter, the .414, is the correct size for most standard arrowheads or arrow shafts to slide on with very little wiggle. There's almost no void space inside here. Any that is can be fixed with a one piece of tape around this.
It would have to be 414 because it's the only size I
Yeah,
have.
414 is. I remember that number.
Yeah.
So inside diameter, actually inside diameter.
Oh, inside diameter 417.
No,
Or 337?
414.337 is the inside diameter. .414 is the outer diameter. Thank you. They are not cheap to purchase. Single stick. I bought 3 of them. I had them cut it for me at the appropriate length,
And all that like,
which I no longer remember the number. Somebody want to measure this for me?
It looks like it's about.
Oh, hey,
5.
there's the
It
measure.
looks like it's about 5.5 inches. Right over here. 6 maybe.
Oh, that's what happened to my tape.
It's right here.
Yeah, I normally go
4 3/4.
Not bad for looking at it all the way over there.
Yeah.
Kind of close.
So 4 3/4 inches.
Good to see ya.
Yep, good seeing you too.
You got it, Ishra?
Yeah.
Later.
Dog at home I gotta go take care of.
Take care of the dog, man.
So yeah, 4 3/4. Goodwins will cut it for you and ship it to you in a small box as opposed to really giant boxes.
So you don't have to pay $23 for shipping like I do for my.
No, you still have to pay for the shipping.
No, but I think the reason.
No, they don't.
They don't cut the price.
No,
down?
they don't.
Oh, bastard!
I tried that. And when I sent my note in with them, I'm like, could you cut these into as many 4 3/4 pieces as you can? And if that happens to make your shipping and handling less, you go ahead and cut that down for me.
The priority box.
No, I know it does. They don't care. They gave me the same price.
$23.
So for about $40, I got 3 sticks cut to what I needed, and it was good. Almost anybody who's made arrows knows that this is probably the most annoying part. You have to build a blunt on the end of your arrow tip. So this is the part everybody hates. Winding up duct tape on the end of the kite spar. Doing this over and over, over and over. So when I was really bored, I actually took the time to figure out how much duct tape is actually needed on this kite spar in order to do this correctly. It happens to be 93 inches of 1-inch duct tape. Just in case you're ever curious about this.
That was probably a piece of information I didn't need, but that's okay. Now I know.
I've had lots of information I didn't need.
At which point, this would be the part in the editing process where we should be fast forwarding. as he winds everything up, yeah.
So we just convince
I'm
people
actually
normal speed.
just gonna put that aside because
Guess what?
The internet, I already have something prepared.
Do you measure to know you've got like a cross section to know that you have it the right size? Or
I take my washer and I put it right there on the top, and I go, "Hey, look! I can't feel the edges anymore."
So the object is to just get it as close as
wide as
As
the washer.
Yeah.
Can I see the washer in your piece?
So there's probably a little more, a little less in each head as long as
The
it.
washer is 1 inch.
So there's probably a little more, a little less in each one depending on.
Yeah.
Give or take.
This does not have to be 100% exact. This just has to build a stable base for the washer to sit on. Just in case anybody's ever wondered why exactly do we build this, back in the day when we used pennies, you would simply attach the penny to the end of the arrow shaft, and now this arrow penny gets beaten over and over right here by the end of the shaft.
There's a hole in it.
And it'll put a hole in it. Or, worst case scenario, that penny does this.
Yep.
And now that arrow goes right beside that penny and stabs somebody through the phone. Or it gets stuck in someone's chainmail. Or ends up in a tree next to someone's head. These are things that have happened.
I know.
At our field even. Huh?
I know. We remember. We saw the penny thing happen.
Chuck nearly died from an arrow at our field.
So did Johnny, the one in the tree that went.
Yeah.
All right, so screw goes on top or inside the hollow tube, and line up the washer on the outside so that it's nice and flush. And at this point, you take some of your magical 1-inch strapping tape. I'm not actually going to pull it out and do it because I already have one done.
Magic of the internet.
You use 2 pieces, 3 inches long. It just goes from the bottom of the blunt over the top of the washer and the screw, and down the other side, and then turn it 90 degrees and do the same thing the other
So
side.
strictly to hold the washer and screw in place.
More or less, yes. This also gives it a fiberglass shield that it has to break through before it can ever break the foam.
Okay.
Because there is a screw
Now, I have
cross, the notch.
Yeah.
That notch could dig into foam unless you...
Yeah.
2.2 pound foam. There are a few ways to get your beginning circle here. The way I used for these, and again I screwed up a little bit when I did it, is taking a can, a standard like can of peas, can of corn, can, right? Tin can. Sure.
Did you
What did I
use
say?
green beans?
You said can of corn, soup can.
Did
soup
you use
can.
for Chef Boyardee?
Yes, I did actually, and it's the wrong can.
Damn. That would have been so perfect.
It was a ravioli can because I happen to like the ravioli. It's the only reason I bought that one.
The overstuff?
Yes.
Thank you. You get my approval right there.
All right. So you take a can opener and you turn it sideways instead of cutting down into the can. You cut the lip of the can off. You end up with a semi-sharp edge. Well, you take that same can.
Do you have a seam ripper?
You know what? We're gonna pretend this is the inside rim of a can.
Here, let me look for your seam ripper and just record Faircue. Okay, right back. Okay, I'm recording.
Scissors. Scissors. They don't have to be sharp. I'm not actually using them for cutting anything.
Yeah.
Demonstration.
Is knife?
You know what? Knife will work. I'm not going to dull your edge. Don't worry.
Don't worry. That's not
So
one of mine.
take the outside edge of metal scissors, and on the inside rim of the can, you scrape it hard all the way around. What you end up doing is actually sharpening the edge of the inside of the can. And it turns into a very nice circular blade.
I guess.
And so once you've got your entire inside sharp, you take your sheet of foam, put your can on top of it, turn and press, and it cookie cutters the foam.
Make sure you don't get your fingers in
Okay,
it.
I guess
Like,
my next question.
that would be impossible to do.
Hey. So
You've-
pole saw, like we talked about earlier, for the blue foam. Would it work for that?
Potentially, again, I don't like it because it rips the foam
What
as
if I-
opposed to make smooth cuts.
See, I've got one I could file and deburr that would.
If you can find a way to make it do it smooth, that'd be awesome. In fact,
Okay.
it would also help you with cutting your exact center hole with the drill bit in the center.
Yeah, because I could put the drill bit on it and then you go.
Yeah. Right, so that could work.
Okay.
I don't have access to that again.
Again, I'm just discussing because it's the whole. I guess I'm throwing it out there for potential ideas for other people. That
Yeah,
well, I can't
absolutely.
do this, but I can do
Right,
this.
right. No, you're good. You're good. So once you've got
Seam
your
ripper ran away. I don't know where it is. Oh no.
cylinder, you then need to either put a hole in it or cut it into a cone, whichever one you want to do first. The X-Acto knife is for. If you'll notice, on the foam itself, it has 4 layers. They're a half an inch apart. What I do is find the center of my foam, so right here. I aim my blade so that I know I'm going to catch about halfway through that layer, and I cut through so I get to where I want it to be. I am about halfway into the cylinder here, and I'm halfway through this layer. Now I want to keep this the same distance here, and I'm going to make sure the blade keeps exiting here, and turn the foam in my hand. This will generally get you a decent cone if you have to do it this way. It will never be perfect. Once I got the correct tool to do this with, I will never do this again because I'm a perfectionist. Yay, perfectionism.
Yeah, right.
Huh?
I am too. That's terrible.
This is where the hot wire cutter he was telling me about comes into play.
So now you've got a rough cut cone. You can take a knife and trim it up a little bit if you need to because it didn't get smooth.
Sandpaper, good option there too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Belt sander also works great for that. Most important thing when you're doing this is to make sure that every single one of them is the same. If they're not all the same, your arrows aren't going to fly the same. If they don't all fly the same, you can never be accurate. Everything has to be identical.
That makes
So,
sense.
now that you've got a cone, hopefully you also have a hole in the center. Did both those? Damn it, I did both of those that way.
Damn it, Janet.
Here comes the drill bit.
Nope,
Didn't bring the drill bit.
that's not the sharp one. Son of a bitch.
He's looking for it, but he doesn't have
So,
Oh, did you take a piece of kite spar and sharpen it?
I did exactly that. I was showing you with this, like it was the inside of a can. I did it to the inside of one of these. Stuck it down, and push.
You're not going to cut into the felt on the pull down,
No.
are you?
No, he's only doing for demonstration purpose of doing it down like that.
The single down, while we have to do it to the finishing work.
Ta-da.
When I come to those.
Now I have a hole through my phone.
But I was kind of looking at that, and I was like,
And it's the same size as the kite spar because you cut it with the kite spar.
Bingo.
Now, getting
yeah, because the other side only has his name yet.
this to fit in here, I know that it is
But I'm gonna
an inch
finish
deep,
the
so
bottom.
I'm going to make my knife blade an inch long.
Tomorrow. Still.
Start here, push it. Oh, I didn't.
You didn't lock it, did you?
Nope.
But
That happens.
Yeah.
I may look.
All the way in. Cut a circle.
Honestly, probably the only thing I have to do.
It doesn't even have to be perfect circle because this is foam. It will give.
I'd say just enough that the blunt will go in. And even if it was a slightly bit smaller, would that be effective? Because then it would squeeze on the blunt?
It's 50-50. There's no force coming back on the cone, really. There's a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay.
Most of your force is coming back on the blunt that you built.
I was referring to when you actually tape it, if it would pull down on the blunt a little bit.
Anyway, use the blade itself to pry against the bottom. The reason why I made a specific point about the 1/2 inch on this is these are literally just heat bonded together.
Yeah.
They will separate on that line if you apply force against it. So dragging this way, I've now cut out a hole on the inside.
And that's your 2 layers deep, which would be your 1-inch blunt, because they're 1 inch. Yeah.
Nice snug.
This one isn't perfect because, well, I'm not perfect. And I'm not sitting in front of my stuff at home to do it. So instead of that one, we'll go to this one, the one I made earlier. And that's the way it should look when it's done.
Consultation.
All right. Again, screw goes in there. She put the right one in.
As I say, so we're switching over to the fiberglass
Shut
tape
up.
one, right?
You're not wrong. I don't like it, but you're not wrong.
Damn it.
All right. So now your fully taped piece goes in here. The blue foam I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
This is the next layer. It goes with the rubberized side down against the arrowhead. The way you do that is with carpet tape.
That makes sense. So
Cut a 2-inch square piece of carpet tape. It'll always have a second piece of paper on the top to expose the second side of the piece of this. You remove that.
And then after rosewood,
And this goes
add a 1/2 yard on either side of this stuff
dead on top.
to make them the way Jen makes.
Now that carpet tape creates a cloth barrier, an adhesive barrier, and an adhesive join between these two pieces.
And the reasoning for the pattern being down is in case the screw starts to break through, you have an
You put
additional...
you put the strongest part towards the screw, which is the place that's going to take the most impact.
Yep, okay.
If I put it on this side would break down first.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's...
So yes, you are dead on correct again. If you look, you can tell that I actually have the wrong size cone on here, because this circle's cut to the right size.
Okay, that's.
The circle and the cone are supposed to be the same size
Yeah,
exactly.
so that way it's flush.
The can is wrong.
The can lied.
You're right. That's part of what I was doing before I came over tonight. So from here, we go. I need another 2-inch square of carpet tape.
About how much is a roll of carpet tape?
I want to say it was $25, $30.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot of arrows in that one roll of carpet tape.
Yep.
I'm right, there is.
You can get smaller rolls at Walmart too.
Good
Yeah,
deal.
but you buy a small roll, you have to buy it again.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
he's going to be shooting arrows for the next 10 years. He's going to want carpet tape.
There's a reason why if I ever start building weapons again, I pick up my clear tape from work because I get the big rolls of machine pack.
I am fortunate that my work happens to have a
So-
warehouse with clear tape.
Another layer of carpet tape, like I was
Yeah.
saying.
Mine's the
Take your
3-foot
half
size.
spell ball,
About.
line it up, just drop it on. At this point, you have 2 choices. You can either do the strapping tape crossover that a lot of people like to do, or you can leave it at this and be mostly done. The upside of the strapping tape, it lends more damage resistance against the foam from repeated impacts on hard objects. Downside to it, you've now created a pressure point across the foam where it could cut the foam open. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm going against it for now. I'm going to trim this up real quick.
The can lied.
It did so bad.
You know, normally.
How to know it's bugging Q? He's taking the time to trim the 1/4 inch off.
You know, normally I say the cake is the lie, but in this
case, the can was the lie.
the can
yes.
was a lie.
I'd be interested to see if I could take a hole
All
saw
right.
that's the appropriate size and file the teeth so that they didn't have the burrs on them.
That's possible.
To see if you could still press it, or even put it on a drill and
But like,
with a
I
drill
like
bit of the appropriate
My
size.
fees have gone from super
The balls are 2.75 inches. They're cut in half.
It's passing the green.
All right. So the last bit.
Clear tape.
Clear tape. Here's the fun part.
Find the edge.
He is not anal
That's not
retentive
something
about
you
the
hear very often.
full. I always fold the end when I'm done.
Me
I'm
too.
not touching
I'm
anal
because I
retentive
hate
about
fighting.
that.
I'm
Yep.
being nice, okay?
Whatever. I don't care.
I know.
Self-deprecating humor. It's better than letting somebody else get to the joke first.
Yeah, well.
All right. So you want to start about 1/4 of an inch up on the ball itself, and make sure it's getting plenty of contact with the tape.
So
You're pulling everything down when you do it. And ideally, the ball is going to overlap onto the blue foam a little bit. It's not going to be a lot. It's just going to be a little bit.
is the goal here just a basic torque wrap and seal? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, the 1/4 inch up on top of here keeps this edge sealed. You push down while you're doing this from the top so that there's compression on all the pieces in here.
Makes sense.
Now from here, you tightly torque wrap this. And this goes all the way to the shaft. A lot of the imperfections you may have on cutting your cone will likely disappear here if you do this right.
So not only is it, that also gives you another layer of protection holding the foam onto the shaft other than just the screw too. So safety inside of safety. I like it.
Most dangerous thing we do in the game.
Yep. It's very true.
Oh. Sometimes it's okay to change materials. Like if maybe you don't have this type of spell ball, you can use another one. I don't suggest it, but if you could. Do not ever in your life use this crap for this.
Well, duh.
Not ever.
It's not
This
strong
shit
enough.
breaks down very, very, very fast.
Yeah, that's
It's no good.
It's rapid breakdown.
If you want any kind of evidence on how fast it breaks down, how often do you have to replace your fun noodle swords? Yeah. Right. These take a lot more impact than your damn swords do. They get stepped on all the time.
Yep. I try not to be fair.
Oh, I try too.
That's you.
It's not everybody.
I try. It still doesn't always happen.
Sometimes you have 40 people fighting on a field. Nobody gives a crap about your arrow. They're just backpedaling to not get hit.
It gets worse when you got like a full contingent on both sides.
All right, so this is effectively done. It just needs a cover.
Cool.
Goes in. Screws on. Come on. Hit the bottom of the thread, please.
You know it's there.
I know. It's just going to take it a minute.
Now, while you're threading that question,
Uh-oh.
Okay, there we go.
question.
Got worried for a second
No.
because it sounded like it was spinning. I'm like,
Oh, no.
no, there's no way I broke JB Weld. No!
So I have
Or
a question in
did
regards
you?
to attaching the modular head. Have you considered any type of Loctite, and not the permanent stuff? They have
Yes,
the, they have the
you
easy
absolutely
breakaway
should be using a form of Loctite on the
on the threads
the
of the
shaft.
shaft, right?
Yeah, because you're never going to get it into the screw.
Yeah, well, obviously. So I
but
think
yeah, you
blue.
can
I
take-
think blue is the one that breaks relatively easy. It's either blue's the one they put on the bottom of oil pans, so I think blue's
Yeah.
the right one.
One is permanent, one is not. So
Do not use red. I can tell you red is permanent,
there we go.
and black is even more
So-
permanent.
Now you have a modular
It'll be a
arrowhead.
really short, long sword.
Now we're talking about
It'll be a really
it rattling.
short, long sword. After you put
This
the
is
foam on,
solvable
see? It might come up just under 3.
with the tiniest bit of duct tape.
Is that to reduce the rattle?
That tiny little piece, right about here. Take it, angle it from your tip, spiral it down.
There's been times where I took a 4 and made a short sword, and it
There we go.
exactly 36.
And now, when it finishes screwing on, it's done.
It's
And
longer for some reason.
no more rattle. Technically, if I wanted to, I could leave the screw out of all of this. Notice it ripped up the...
And do a pressure.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's how Bad Wolf does his, isn't it? It's pressure.
Yeah. You can just build up this until that is a super tight fit. Make sure it gets all the way down to the end. And then once it's there, at about that depth, you use strapping tape from here to here 4 times, and then you do a spiral down it with the same strapping tape. Then you cover it with whatever you use to make your arrows look pretty.
Yep. I think
The reason you do that is you want that strong fiberglass tape bond so it doesn't separate.
I think I like your screw method better personally.
Yeah. In a perfect world, if you really, really wanted to, you could even go as far as getting a good chop saw and chopping these off again, right about here, and regain about 1.5 inches of your draw length on your arrows.
Yeah.
So.
Now, have you considered going with like 34-inch arrows because the shaft prevents your draw length from going past the 28-inch mark?
I have not gone that far because I don't care that much. I've used this specific arrow shaft for so long that I know its draw length, and I mean it doesn't get me to 20. I think it's like 26 with these arrow heads on them, and I can hit accurately with this because I've used this for so long.
No, that totally
so
makes
now I don't go.
That totally
past
makes
that.
sense. So I guess my thing was,
If I ever
so
switch bows, damn sure doing that.
go to a
Longer arrow.
Longer arrow that's 2 inches longer, so that
Yeah,
2
you go
inches.
32 or 34.
I don't know.
I would have to.
I would have to. I'm trying to think of what blade I would have to get for my chops off of fiberglass because I couldn't use my wood blades. Even my finished blade doesn't have enough teeth for that. I'd probably have to get a tile blade.
Ones that look like a grinder wheel.
Yeah, that's a tile
Dremel.
blade. Yeah, that's
Dremel tools.
a tile blade.
these are my other buttons.
That is what you use to cut kites for, if you're going to do it right. Anything else?
I cut my short swords with my scroll saw. That's always fun.
You're crazy.
It works just fine.
Anywho,
Yeah, he is crazy with it.
so that's
Not a jigsaw, not the hand one.
pretty much it.
That was actually
In the
perfect.
end, you come out with a good arrowhead.
Is it going to be a little bit too short?
Cover choices.
Ripstop nylon if you have it,
Oh yeah.
because ripstop nylon doesn't break on rocks.
Okay. Now you just cutting a square and folding it down and taping it, or are you
That's
making a
personal
cylinder?
preference.
or-
There's a lot of different ways to make them.
What do you do personally?
If I'm taking my sweet ass time about it, I'm using a
2/3 of the weapon.
length of cloth
I don't think there's
from
any
here
specific.
that's long enough to go all the way around once, wide enough to meet in the center when it's sewn together.
Okay, so you're making
because-
you're making a sewn cover. Then.
Yeah. I sew it a slight circle edge to the folded top,
Right now, just to be
then
sure.
down the side, circle edge from the folded top down to the side. It leaves this flat and smooth, and you have a seam that begins about here and goes down.
Yeah, because with my spell balls I use a square, but because I pull them the way I do,
But
the front is smooth.
yeah,
But there is some bunching at the back.
all that bunching happens right here. I don't really
Yeah.
like it because it gets in the way of where the arrow could be pulled to.
Okay. That's why I
I
asked.
want to
least
remove as
2/3
much
of the weapon
fabric as
must be
possible.
strike legal.
Your cover should not go past here.
And then taping on with
Electrical tape.
electric
usually.
tape or grip
Or
tape.
electrical. Oh yeah, athletic tape. Whichever you feel like you're using the most. Again, I stress
turns into-
uniformity.
Personal, yeah, it turns into personal preference and uniformity, so
Yeah.
they weigh the same, they fly the same, they
Exactly.
react the same.
Because the covers being different in the way they're sewn can affect the way they fly, which changes the way they shoot, and then you lose accuracy again.
Okay.
Uniformity and everything. Well, thank you very much, and